What's up? What's up? Hey, everyone, Jane Hamill. And today I'm going to talk about why I think most of you are screwing yourselves over when it comes to your costing and pricing. How do I know? Because I just got back from Miami where I did a fabric show and it was terrific. Thefabricshows.com. If you are a person who sources fabrics, it's a small show. They have other ones coming up in like Dallas, New York, San Francisco. In any case, one of the seminars that I did was costing and pricing. And I talked to a lot of people after the seminar who gave me some insight into their costing and pricing. Some of them were startups, some were pre-launch phase, some have had businesses for 5 years, 10 years. So I remember sitting in my tiny office in the back of my retail store on Armitage Avenue in Chicago and looking up at a sea, like a huge amount of like holiday decorations, thinking, oh, I just like took a deep sigh because I had so much to do that day. And I was like, oh my God, these decorations, like I have to get these cost sheets done so I can get back to focusing on the retail store and getting sales today, right? So I grabbed my cost sheets and I started putting the numbers in for some new styles. And I distinctly remember a certain jacket that I was doing. And it was a sort of a test order for Marshall Fields, which was a large department store, which is then bought by Macy's. Okay. But it was a small order from them. And then I was also going to be ordering some for my retail store. So I remember thinking, these numbers do not look good, right? And I'd already quoted a price to Fields. So I was kind of stuck with this. I couldn't change my wholesale price for them. And for those of you who are not familiar with all of this, costing, in my opinion, is really a three-part process. There's the costing that you do when you start designing and you start making samples. And before you even think, I want to produce this piece, you think, how can I? Is it going to land where I want it to land? Is it going to be profitable? Why work on styles that are not going to make you money? And then before you go into production, then you revisit your costing and you see, okay, now I have prices from my manufacturers. I know the quantity. Let's do the cost sheets again and get the more accurate number. And then after you produce, you go back and you see if it was real. So costing is not just like a one-time thing. It's a three-time thing. Okay. So in this day when I was feeling like rushed and overwhelmed because I had a retail store, and I was designing and, I was in the before production stage. So I knew the style. I had my final samples. I knew that the quantities and I knew the price I was going to be paying for labor. And the margins were terrible. And I looked at it and I was like, yeah, I got to get this done. This doesn't look good. So I did a thing. I fudged my numbers. I remember distinctly thinking and being very logical in my brain. Well, this time it's a low quantity, but next time it's going to be better because this is a great style. It's going to sell and I'm going to have bigger margins, no doubt. So I put in 300 units for the price of labor. Yes, I did. I did that. And I was like, there we go. That looks better. Okay, numbers done. So I did not want to face the truth about my numbers. I was scared. I was like, if I just do this quickly and move on to the next one, it didn't really happen. Right? So it wasn't like I had a partner that I had to own up to. It was just like my accountant who would see it, right? So it wasn't like I had to save face for like the board or my investors or something, right? No. So who was I really lying to? Myself, right? And I just didn't want to know. I kind of couldn't face the truth. I love this quote by Timothy Ferriss. A person's success in life can usually be measured by the number of uncomfortable conversations he or she is willing to have. Now, in this case, the uncomfortable conversation was with myself. I didn't have whatever the capacity, maybe decision fatigue, or just like, let's get the, like, just get through the day kind of vibe I was going with that day. I didn't have the uncomfortable conversation with myself to be like, okay, so this style, I've made a mistake. Maybe next time it is going to be more profitable, but these are my true margins here. I didn't do it. So I am wondering if so many of you are doing the same thing and you are screwing yourself over with your pricing based on a lot of reasons, but often fear, fudging the numbers, sometimes not really truly knowing the cost. And some of you have a terrible cost sheet that you use that is not set up for margins for small brands. Some of you get cost sheets off the interwebs, like Etsy or whatever, and God knows who came up with these margins. I see gurus out there saying, if you're direct to consumer, if you want to have an e-commerce brand, all you got to do is take your cost of goods sold, multiply it by 3, because you're cutting out the middleman. And I'm using air quotes here, and I have a snarky look on my face, cutting out the middleman. And you just take your cost of goods sold, multiply it by 3, you're good to go. That is not enough margin for 99% of you listening right now. So I have worked with so many clients whose margins look pretty good on paper, right? Like some of my private clients, I get up in there, I see all the back end of everything they're doing, and they swear to me that they're doing their costing accurately. And yet there's no money left over. And I look at their expenses and I see the back end of all of it, marketing and advertising expense, payroll, the owner's draw, cost of goods sold, everything looks good, but there's no money left over. So something is off. And it's got to be the cost of goods sold. It's not that they're traveling and staying in the Four Seasons every time they go to a show or something, right? When you peel the onion, there's often things left out of the cost sheet completely, or it's fudged. And yeah, lots of time this comes with makers and like hardcore designers, because they're not including all the steps of the cost of goods sold. So if you are the person who makes the jewelry and then you don't include, the time that this or that happens, or packing and shipping, well, whatever, right? You just include the basic stuff. And yet the margins look great on paper, but they're not, because all of the labor and everything is not accurate. So I want to get you sorted out. So this is going to be part 1. And I want you to start thinking, have I been fudging my numbers? Have I been honest? Where is this not working right? If all the time you get a sale, you have profit, really, then you're good. But most of you do not have that. Okay. So this is going to be part 1. Now, please know each product is different. Each product category is different. And your decisions, I'm just hoping they will not be emotional or fear-based like many of mine were. I have a story I'll tell you later in part 2 about how I totally almost ruined my business just before launch with my pricing. Okay. So there's 4 things you need to know. There's 2 different ways to approach. Number 1, there's 2 different ways to approach costing and pricing, MD and FU, marketplace down or fabric/cost of goods sold up. Very important to know the difference and to decide what you're going to do. And you can use both, obviously. Well, not obviously yet, because I haven't taught yet. The second one is, what is the formula? What are proper markups for wholesale and direct to consumer? Even if you're not selling wholesale and have no plans to sell to other retail stores, that is the formula you will use for everybody. Because I know you're the person who makes the product or has it produced, whatever, and then you're the person who has to go out and get the customers and sell it. And you deserve to get paid for both of those activities. And if you don't, you will not have enough money to pay yourself what you want to pay yourself, and to live, and to go on vacation, and to support your family. Number 3, the importance of using a good cost sheet. A good cost sheet from someone like me, ding, little plug there, that has been doing this for so many years that I know from experience in the school of hard knocks what the markups need to really be, because I know that you are not producing thousands of units. Some of you are, many of you are, but many of you are not. And the 4th thing you need to know is pricing fear. So the 4 things, number 1, there's 2 ways to approach pricing and costing, MD and FU, which I'll explain later. Number 2, what is the actual formula that you need to know? Huge disclaimer there, because every product is different. Every company is different. Every product category, how much product development goes into it, but I will give you the formula in the next episode. Number 3, the importance of using a good cost sheet. Number 4, pricing fear. And by the way, if you're doing the formula that I'm going to give you, but you're not sure, I really want you to know I have a template for you. I will give you my costing and pricing cost sheet with the whole workshop that goes with it. It's $47, but I'm giving it to you for $10. So I know that costing and pricing can be a total mind F, and it can be very confusing. So I want to give it to you for $10. Okay. Just go to fashionbrainacademy.com/cost sheet. fashionbrainacademy.com/cost sheet. You can get that anytime. Obviously, I'm going to be giving you the formulas, but I know it's not really enough for you to feel confident with your pricing. And so I want you to have that template and that full training. Okay. All right. So save yourself the headaches, the uncertainty, then the going out of business by not fucking with your profit and your numbers. Okay. Okay. So when it comes to marketplace down, the first thing you want to know is that this is where you decide where you want to fit into the market. You look at the other brands out there or the other things that your ideal customer is buying, and you back that up into what you want to do. So you decide what market you want to be with, like who do you want to hang with, right? So if I want to have dresses in the $250 to $350 price range, that means my competition would be so-and-so, and the ideal customer would also be buying from these companies. And then you work that backwards to determine your costs and what you can afford to spend on materials and labor. And then you get creative within these parameters. The FU way of doing costing is the traditional thing like you may have learned in school. Fabrics up, cost of goods sold up. I like saying FU rather than COGS up. It's more fun. You start with your cost sheet, you plug all the numbers in, you use the markup formula, you determine what you need to charge, wholesale and retail. And again, even if you don't plan to do wholesale, you do that thing. And then your price, your retail price is based on your costs. And so when you go into this, you're not really sure where your retail price is going to end up. And so that can be very challenging. So I encourage everyone to start with MD, marketplace down. Where do I want to be? Where do I want my retail price to land? Now, how much can I spend on labor? How much can I spend on fabrics? How much trims? All the things. All right. So I'm going to leave it with there because I first want you to think about what you're doing with your costing and pricing. And next time we'll come back and we'll get to a little more on the MD or FU strategy. And then we'll go to the formula and what a good cost sheet includes and doesn't include. All right. Have a great day. And remember, for $10, go get that cost sheet for apparel, fashion, accessories, products, like anything that's sewn. Okay. And it's fashionbrainacademy.com/cost sheet. I will see you next time. Thank you so much for listening.